Hi, I'm Steve Sexton, and this is the Silver-Haired Tsunami Show. We have a wonderful show for you today. We have Brenda Geiger. She's going to talk to us about estate planning, but more importantly, hey, you go through that divorce, you have kids that have some issues, old trust, you want to be there for that. Secondly, we have Jonathan Jerotz. He's the Synergy One lending professional. He's going to talk to us today about having a mortgage checkup. Could save you hundreds, maybe even thousands of dollars. And then we got Bruce McPherson. He's dispelling all the misinformation so you don't go into them with unrealistic expectations. Stick with us. We'll be right back. Hi, you know what? I want to talk to you about a big tip, and it's all about getting educated. You know what? A few years ago, you heard Nancy Pelosi say, hey, you know what? Just sign it and figure out what's in it. And that was the Affordable Care Bill. And where are we now? We find out people are paying more for health insurance. The people who were supposed to benefit are actually paying more and not going. And there's many, many people not signing on, causing the exchanges to go bankrupt. And the insurance carriers are actually losing money. And you know what? When they lose money and get to a certain point, we get to fill it in. So, hey, does it work well for us? And recently, just last week, we had a senator from Oregon propose a financial transaction tax. That means you stocks, bonds, and derivatives, and it's designed for those frequency traders, those high-speed traders to slow them down, even out the markets. But you know what? Even President Obama is against it because his concern is that they're going to be taxing ordinary people at ordinary income rates on this. And that's the thing that I'm scared about. The key here for you, especially if you're in that 50 and older range, everything you save goes towards that retirement, goes towards that quality of life. So I encourage you, today's tip of the day is get educated about your senators are doing, what other senators are doing that could adversely affect your life and your livelihood, especially the quality of life you have in retirement. Hey, stick with us. We have a wonderful show and a lot more for you. Hi, this is Steve Sexton, host of the Silver-Haired Tsunami travel event. Remember, Wayne Dunlop, the #1 travel blogger in the world for baby boomers. Why? Because he helps people save thousands of dollars when it comes to traveling on planes, trains, automobiles, cruises, the whole shot. We also have Ken Foster, the CEO of Stars of Courage. They're helping lift people out of poverty. What a wonderful thing. Now, we're looking forward to seeing you there. Go to the Silver-Haired Tsunami website. Again, the date is July 30th at the Mission Valley Hilton between 11 and 1. We'll see you there.
My name's Kevin Grangetto. I live in Escondido, California, and I had my system put in by Baker Electric Solar. When they got here, they were ready to go. Started early, 6 in the morning. They parked off site, so they were able to get everything in on the roof, hooked up, and done in a matter of 3 days. And it was really easy for my wife and I to work with them. You just don't want a lot of these challenges to be, affecting the way that you do your life. And when they got in and out of here, it was excellent. It was easy. It's just the way they told me it would be.
Hey, welcome back. You know what? One of the big things that we've been receiving this week has been emails. You know what? We're in summer here. People are going on vacation. But one of the big things is we have people who, you know what, they've got this big mortgage, they want to do other stuff, and they're trying to find the money to go and do extra things and go on vacation and do the wonderful things that they want. And we decided, hey, look, what are areas that we can reduce or eliminate some expenses and maybe redirect it to the things we want to go to. So I have Jonathan Jerotz. He's a vice president at Synergy One Lending, and he's going to help us out and see if we can help us out there. Jonathan, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much. Always good to be here, and thanks for having me. You know, it's interesting. You talk about doing the things we want to do, whether it be travel, spending time with the family, those little getaways, and the thing that I see, the biggest debt that people probably have, typically, is their mortgage. That's their biggest liability on a monthly basis, and that's what we have to kind of look at first. I mean, that's one of the things that I do, and I do mortgage checkups annually for people, where we're looking at it and making sure that the mortgage is the best suited. It's at the best rate, the best terms for their lifestyle at that particular time. And years ago, people would use kind of their homes with stated income loan days, where people were really using it as an ATM. And I'm not advocating using a mortgage as an ATM, but instead looking at the mortgage and seeing how can we improve upon that for a lifestyle. And well, give you some examples. I mean, if you want to travel, typically we need more income, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's what we need to do. So I kind of looked back to go, what do we have for examples here? So I'm going to give you an example of a real life scenario here. Here's somebody they've been in their mortgage for 15 years. They started out at 600 grand, tinkering at about half that right now, right about 300 grand. They're at 6%. Interest rates are far better than 6% right now. But a lot of people are reluctant to kind of do something with that because they're 15 years into it. However, they're reaching this retirement time frame where they want to spend time traveling, taking vacations, going on a cruise, but they're limited on funds. So you take a look at that mortgage, you refinance that $300,000 mortgage, you save them, you lower their payment by $2,200 a month, Steve. $2,200 a month.
That's a lot of money.
You can do some traveling on that.
That's almost $28,000 a year.
Yeah.
There's trips, there's cruises, the whole shot. And just to echo that point, as a financial professional, we look at people's mortgages because when you're in retirement, it's all about income and living the quality life you want. And if you're hampered from that, you really want to take a look at all options, whether it be a mortgage, your investments, your taxes. And you just gave us a great avenue for people to go live the life. Now, they're not doing it on an ATM, which means they're not taking the money out and buying a car or a vacation home. But what they are doing is they're saying, hey, look, I'm going to reduce my mortgage. I'm still going to get that wonderful tax deduction, but now I'm going to be in a position where I can go spend it on other things that make a difference to me. And the way I look at it, if you're paying 6% on a mortgage, you've got a lot of money falling through the cracks here. Because you know what? Once interest rates start going up, and it might be 2 or 3 years before they start really getting up to the 5 or 6 range again, that could be detrimental to you. And right now is the opportune time to do things like that. Now, one of the things I also want to bring out to you is this. Some people, they've got those mortgages. Is there opportunities where they can actually significantly increase their income and their assets?
Yeah. So great question. And this is something where, I've helped somebody do this. So, very low mortgage on their current house, $100,000. And looking at investment properties, right? So whether it be a commercial building, whether it be even an investment home or multi-unit type home, you can leverage your current home, pull money out of that home, and put that money down on an investment property like a commercial building. And what we found is, a couple $100,000, $300,000 out of a home, putting it into a commercial building and reaping the benefits of that commercial income coming in and paying everything and reaping a positive income of about $3,000 a month.
I was just going to say, I have one client that actually did that exact thing. What he did is he kept his payment the same on his mortgage, although the mortgage is larger.
Yes.
He took a little over $300,000 out, bought $1 million medical building, and basically he's paying, the proceeds from the building are paying for his mortgage, and then on top of it, he's got another $36,000 a year. But what he also has is a $29,000 a year write-off from depreciation, plus the other things. He's paying taxes on none of it, so he's got free and clear income that's increased. And on top of that, when we talked about it, he's getting an increased equity in the building. That's a wonderful strategy. Thanks for sharing that with our viewers, JJ.
Yeah, I think it's great, and it's just it's figuring out the right strategy for the right situation.
Now, when you do things like that, is it important? Well, I believe it's important to have a financial professional with you, 100%. So they can make sure there's the efficacy of the strategy, because sometimes it's the right thing. Sometimes it's the wrong thing.
It's not for everybody. Neither of these strategies for everybody, and you have to make sure that it's the right thing because everybody's situation is different.
That's perfect. Hey, thank you so much for being with us today. This is wonderful. Hey, look, if you're looking to find that extra money to go travel, be with family, help out some of the grandkids, looking at a mortgage is a proper way to do that, but you want to make sure your financial professional's involved. For more information on what JJ just said, hey, go to the Silver-Haired Tsunami website. Stick with us. We got more to come.
My name is Mike Peters and my wife Cindy. We've been residents of Escondido for over 40 years, and we've been really happy with Baker Solar. Being a banker, I'm a numbers guy, and I look at the numbers very seriously before I chose solar. Right now, my savings is about $3,000 a year. As the 20-year lease goes on, I'll be saving more, so I'm extremely happy with the system.
Lots of people watched the installation and a lot of questions, and I just have to tell them it's all worked out great. We're saving lots of money. It's paying off big time.
Hey, welcome back. I have a wonderful guest. She's been here before, and you've probably seen her on a number of stations. Her name's Brenda Geiger. She's an estate planning attorney. She's an author, and we're so lucky to have her. Brenda, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here, Steve.
I'm glad you're here, but I want to bring out one other big thing here that's really, really important. I was just having this wonderful conversation with some clients the other day. They have about $800,000 in an IRA. And I was talking to the husband saying, hey, you know what? Which one of you two thinks is going to pass away first? He goes, probably me, because Cindy will, she'll outlive me. That's easy. And I said, well, how would you like things to occur? He goes, well, I'd like it all to go over to Cindy. And then when Cindy passed away, go to the kids. And I said, well, what happens if she gets remarried? And he goes, I never thought about that. I said, well, what might happen is your IRA then rolls over to her new spouse. Now, then it goes to the kids. Is that what you want? He's going, well, I'm not so sure. And that's the reason why we have you here to talk to us about that stuff.
Yeah.
And my understanding is there's other issues too, because sometimes when kids receive that inheritance, they're not quite ready for it. And just like lottery winners and people who receive lump sums, they usually go through it in 70% go through in a very short period of time, like talking like 2 years, really fast, because they get red cars and they wreck them.
Yeah.
And you know what? And then there's things like, you have divorces and all sorts of things with the kids too. So, what can people do?
Well, when somebody has a collection of retirement accounts, we're talking over $250,000 or more, and they have children, I'm always talking with them about, well, how would you like this to pass down, not just to your spouse, but then to your children eventually? Because since 2003, we've had this law change that allows somebody that's not the spouse to inherit and stretch the account out. And a lot of people don't even know that that's out there and available. What it really means is that the person that inherits can take a fractional share every year and take that as what we call a required minimum distribution. It's based on a table called the single life table. And they can stretch it, and they don't have to experience the tax hit of taking the entire account all at once. So, for example, if somebody had an IRA that was a total of $800,000, and they had an 18-year-old and a 20-year-old, and their spouse is about the same age as them, when their spouse passes away, it can then go on to their children, but their children don't have to take and accelerate it. It can stay in that tax-deferred environment for a much longer period of time, until that child's 85, in fact. And each child could have their own stretch. So this is a huge advantage that a lot of people are just not even aware of, and what that can amount to when you run it through the calculator.
Well, if you think about it, you've got 30 years at 7%. That means it doubles every 10. And you're only taking out maybe 0.5% because you're in that single life table. That's very significant from an asset that you can transition off to the ones you love for decades to come.
Yeah, in fact, I've got a calculator on the homepage of my website where people can go in and calculate their own required minimum distribution for themselves. You can put in whatever rate of growth that you think is appropriate, and see what that looks like, not only for yourself, but then for your children. But creditor protection is also the other thing I think you were hitting on earlier, is that if we don't structure it in the right way to go to our kids or to grandkids, it could be blown right away. But also a creditor coming in from the outside, like their divorcing spouse, a bankruptcy that occurs to them, they have a lawsuit against them. Any kind of number of things that could happen creditor-wise could take that money.
Well, even if you have a child that is, very not responsible when somebody asks them for money, they say, hey, I got an iceberg I'd like to sell you. They go, okay. Or you know what, they do have a substance abuse, and everybody that I've seen who's had a substance abuse receives money. That substance abuse gets really big.
Yeah.
And, in some cases it can kill them, and the parents really love them. They want to protect them, and they want to create something for them in the future. How do they go about doing that?
So there is a trust that is referred to as either a retirement plan trust, or I call them retirement protector trusts. And what you do is you have the beneficiaries be your children, or it could be grandchildren or anybody else. But the trust is acting as a barrier the way that it's drafted between the account and the person that's there to benefit. So the trustee is the person that executes the stretch on that. So that can be a third-party trustee in the case of somebody where we've got a special needs beneficiary, or we've got somebody with a drug and alcohol problem that we want to protect. Or it can be beneficiary controlled, where we let the child be in charge at a stated age, like maybe 35 or 40 or whatever age we think is appropriate for them to be able to take control of that account through the trust.
One of the big things that I see that's happening is there's a lot of trusts that were written 10, 12, 15 years ago, and they're called AB trusts.
Yes.
And tell us about the big issue with those.
Well, a lot of people that have trusts that are 5, 10, 15 years plus older, Maybe they haven't revisited those trusts, and they don't realize that they have this ticking time bomb in their trust. And what it means is if you have forced A-B provisions that the trust will split into an A and a B after the death of the first spouse, whatever is funded, moved over, the decedent's portion is moved over to the bypass trust, or the B trust as they call it, that's going to be subject to gain at the death of the second spouse. So when the eventual beneficiaries then inherit the property, they might have a capital gains on their hands if the assets that were funded are assets of the type that are subject to gain. So a lot of people don't realize in a forced A-B situation, there's no choice. We have to split it into an A and a B outside of going to court and petitioning to see if we can dissolve that.
And if the estate's not $5.5 or $5.4 million, they might not even need that AB, or they don't need that AB trust, and they just could be hurting themselves or their heirs.
A Q-tip might be a better answer if they're looking to protect the decedent's half, you know, maybe from a later remarriage of the surviving spouse. And if they have an estate that's maybe between 5 and 11 million, maybe a Clayton election might be a better option because we have more flexibility.
So basically what we're saying here is the A is the above ground person, the B is the below ground person, and they're forced to put money in that below ground person trust, and when that above ground person passes away, this portion's taxable.
Could be.
Could be, and it could create some problems. Now, what do people need to do if they have one of these old trusts? They should be contacting somebody like yourself, a lawyer, to get involved and understand what's going on. What would your best advice be?
I would get a review done. So if you have a good relationship with your current attorney, go back to them. If you don't, find an attorney that you trust to take a look at it and see if they'll write you an opinion letter to let you know what they think should happen.
Now, could you revisit, what we talked about this earlier, the retirement protector trust, correct? Okay. Revisit why somebody would be looking at that.
So especially if you have children or grandchildren, you may want to turn that account that, let's say it's worth $500,000. You don't realize that by giving that to your children eventually after the death of you and your spouse, that could be several $1,000,000 because of the lifetime value of that stretch. Being able to be in that tax-deferred IRA or 401k, 403b, other qualified account. That can go on and on. So a lot of people just don't realize that we can not only do that, the stretch, but also creditor protect it by the way that we have it go through a separate trust called a retirement plan trust or retirement protector
I do want to
trust.
bring something out. I have one client that at the age of 22, it went through the trust, the stretch. And he figured out as long as the account averages 7%, he'll receive $600,000 by the time he was 22 and the time he is 90, and then his kids will get it after that. And that happened for all 11 of his nieces, nephews, and brothers and sisters. And I think that's a wonderful option to have because the coolest thing about it is I see my grandfather's name every single month.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Brenda, thank you so much for being part of our show today.
Thank you.
And
Thanks
hopefully
for
you'll
having
come
me.
back soon.
Yeah, I would love to.
Now, if you would like to get more information on how to get your trust reviewed for if you have an AB trust or a retirement protector trust, you can go to the Silver-Haired Tsunami website or go to the Geiger Law Office website. Stick with us, we'll be right back.
Hi, my name is Chuck Cassidy. I live in the Meadowview area of Temecula, and I chose Baker Electric Solar. Everybody and his brother is selling and installing solar these days, and you really have no way of knowing are you going to get what you pay for. My electric bill has been in the minus every month for the past 2 years. Very few things in life these days come out the way you want. This was one of them.
Hey, welcome back. We have Bruce McPherson from Retirement Funding Solutions, the certified reverse mortgage professional. Now, one of the big issues that we see in retirement is people, they find out income slowing down because a portion of their pension goes away. Or they have, a spouse pass away with a small Social Security and it goes away and hey, they need some income. But they want to be in a position also, so if they need to take out a lump sum for medical issues or, car or travel or whatever, they have the ability to do that. And you know what? One of the big questions that we've been receiving through the internet is, hey, I need some flexibility. Will a reverse mortgage do that? And that's why we have Bruce McPherson here.
Thank you, Steve.
Welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're here to just kind of dispel all these myths and misinformation about reverse mortgages, because a lot of people can use them. They just got to plan properly with them. And a lot of times it could be the greatest thing since sliced bread. Yeah. And people go, why doesn't everybody do this? And then others, it's like, hey, it's not a good thing. So
got to be the right fit.
Yeah. So you know what? let's just talk about the primary concern we got in letters was this. You know what? My wife just passed away. We're losing $800 a month from income. I have no mortgage, but I'm also concerned because we had some medical bills with her, and my savings has been depleted. So how does somebody structure a reverse mortgage so they can have both of those benefits?
Sure. Yeah, that is a very common question is, how can the reverse mortgage be designed to fit a certain scenario? Or does it have the flexibility to fit different
Well, you want to have it customized.
Yeah. And so fortunately, when the government designed the federally insured reverse mortgage program way back in the late 80s, in which they recently made some improvements to, they designed it to be very flexible. So I would say hundreds of my clients are in the situation similar to this, where they need to receive some automatic monthly payments that they can count on, that they'll always come to them as long as they're alive and living in the home, no matter how long that is, even if they live a really long time. But receiving monthly payments is only one of 3 different ways to receive the money. And a lot of them choose to have, I would say hundreds of them, choose to receive monthly payments, but not the largest monthly payments they would qualify for. So for example, if somebody needs only, say, $800,000 a month, then
$800,000 a month?
Excuse me. Wow, that would be wonderful.
That would be cool.
I wish I could provide that. But say $800 a month, then that's more, or that's less than what a typical homeowner in San Diego would qualify to receive. So if they take only, say, $800 a month, then they're also going to have money sitting available in the reverse mortgage line of credit, which is a separate payment plan, but it's all within the same reverse mortgage. And so that line of credit is guaranteed to always be there. It can't be frozen, taken away, arbitrarily reduced, even if we have another financial crisis and home values go down, even if we have another Great Depression. So it's there for them to draw on down the road if they need to take a lump sum from it.
So here's the other question I have. I know if you just get that lump sum, or not the lump sum, but you get the reverse mortgage, but don't take out any money, the equity line grows.
That's right.
Okay,
Yeah.
so if you're taking out an income of $800 and then you have this bucket over here, does this bucket grow?
Yeah, that's
How does
right.
it work?
Yeah, however much is in that line of credit is always growing. So whatever you haven't taken out is always growing. So it's growing at the same rate that the loan balance is growing at. And the loan balance is a separate column over here, which you don't have to think about unless you sell the house. Because if you sell, or someday when you pass away or permanently move out, the loan balance comes due.
Okay.
And the loan balance is growing because there's interest charged, but you don't have to pay the interest. That's the whole defining characteristic of reverse mortgages, is you never have to make monthly payments. So the principal and the interest is just being added to the loan balance, and that's only based on the money you actually receive.
So let me just make sure this is clear. This person who just sent us this letter said, hey, I can get $800 a month for the rest of my life.
Yep.
And then I've got this other bucket, say there's $100,000 in there.
Sure.
That'll grow to specific, and say it's 5%. So in
That makes
essentially
sense.
17 years or 15 years, it'll be $200,000. And I could use that to create an income or take a lump sum out when I need to in case of emergency or even for long-term care or whatever.
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
And I know it's kind of hard for a lot of people to understand that you've got a growing line of credit, and it is kind of odd that it grows at the same rate that the debt grows at, the debt that'll come due someday when both owners of the home are gone. But it's just the way the government designed
Well, so let's talk about that. So we have an income that's coming out, and then we have this lump sum over here. And when that person passes away, how does it work with that? I mean, is there, does that lump sum stay there?
The
Does
line
it go
of
away?
credit.
The line of credit.
Yeah. So the line of credit is only there as long as at least one of the homeowners continues to live in the home and also follow the rules, pay your property taxes, pay your homeowner's insurance. So someday when that customer when both the husband and wife had passed away, then the line of credit, whatever they hadn't borrowed yet, that no longer exists. Just like when you pass away, nobody else is allowed to use your credit card. It's the same kind of thing. It's just credit that's guaranteed to be there. It can't be taken away from you or frozen like a traditional home equity line of credit can. But someday when you're gone, it no longer exists. All that's left is that loan balance that has to be paid back, so your children get to decide whether they want to pay back that loan balance and keep the home, or your children can decide to sell the home And if they do that, that loan balance is paid back through escrow, just like when you sell a house that has any type of mortgage on it. But importantly, that loan balance is only based on money you actually took. So if you only took, say, $50,000 out of this line of credit, even though this line of credit grew over time to, say, $400,000 or $600,000, but if you only took $50,000, then that loan balance is only going to reflect the $50,000 you actually took.
I see.
And plus whatever money you were receiving from that other option, the monthly payments plan.
Okay, okay. So now, one of my biggest concerns, or people come to us and ask this question, when somebody passes away, they passed away. They just, walked out of the house. The balance itself is upside down. We got another 2008. Hey,
sure.
you've taken out 560,000. It's worth 210.
Like, what if it's upside down?
Yeah.
Right?
What happens?
Yeah. So if the home is upside down or underwater, as some people say, in other words, if the loan balance has grown higher than what the home is worth, there are still options for the kids. Number one is they could just walk away. They could
so they don't have to pay a cent.
They don't have to pay a
non-recourse,
cent. The debt is
nothing.
it's a non-recourse loan. Nobody can come after them or anybody for the difference. It's insured by the FHA. Surprisingly, the children could choose to keep that home without having to pay back that whole loan balance. They can pay back just 95% of the appraised value.
Oh.
So to use an extreme example, let's say, what if we've had another Great Depression and that home that should have grown to $2 million in value by then is only worth $100,000?
Oh, cool.
To use a really extreme example. And meanwhile, the loan balance, has grown to several $100,000. Well, the children in that example could keep the home by paying just $95,000, and that huge loan balance is just wiped away. It's just erased by HUD. And now the children keep the home. So there's some really nice guarantees that hardly anybody knows about.
You know what? I'm so glad that we have a reverse mortgage expert on the show just like yourself
Thank
to
you.
dispel all the rumors, all the misinformation. Thank you so much for being with us today, Bruce.
My pleasure.
Now, if you'd like to get more information on reverse mortgages or just get some of the misinformation that you have dispelled, hey, go to the Silver-Haired Tsunami website or the Retirement Funding Solutions website. Ask for Bruce. Stick with us. We'll be right back.
Hi, my name is Steve, and this is my wife Amy. We just had our solar panels installed by Baker Electric. Living out here in the East County, the temperatures can be in the mid-70s to over 100.
We didn't know a lot about solar. Speaking with our solar consultant, he was there to answer any of our questions that we had. He was always there when we needed him.
I think the fact that Baker does go in-house with their employees, everyone is very professional and very polite, and they're on budget. We couldn't have gone with a better company.
What a great show. JJ taught us how to save hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on our mortgages. Bruce dispelled all those misinformation. That was eye-opening. And Brenda, she showed us how to protect the ones that we love. You know what? For more information, you want to check out these segments, go to the Silver-Haired Tsunami website, follow us on Facebook. And remember, we have the travel event on July 30th. So go to the Silver-Haired Tsunami website, go to the event page, and join us.